Hello, everybody. Hello, internet. Hello, YouTube. Hello, mother. Hello, father. Welcome back. Welcome back to Stand Yourself. Had a little bit of an absence yet again. I went on vacation, a much-needed vacation, in my opinion, and I had a great time. I truly had a great time. And today is Woo Woo Wednesday, so I did not really even realize it was. I just got back on Monday afternoon, and then like yesterday I went to work, and then came home and tried to rest a little bit from driving. And I hadn't really put any thought into any videos this week. And it's like the traffic is like all sparse, right? But it's like when you're trying to get out and like everybody's going a different speed, but it's not that. It's like by the time one person passes, somebody else is coming in, and it's like, bro, come on. Which is interesting. It's interesting because today I was like, let's talk about mindset, okay? Which I know people think that's not woo-woo at all, but I do think there's a lot of woo-woo behind it because, you know, I've mentioned on my Vulnerable AF Fridays that I've struggled personally with like mindset in the past, especially like being in the victim mindset. And, you know, that's a very lack mentality to have. I'm not saying that people who have been victimized are not wrong for feeling a certain way. Trust me, I know. I know. But I also learned in my own healing journey that a lot of what we think up here becomes reality out there. And here's proof, okay? You can't say that it's not woo-woo, because how is it in this day and age you can have a thought that you never say out loud to anybody? Never ever say out loud to anybody. You don't talk to anybody about it. You don't Google it, nothing. And then all of a sudden you're getting ads about that thought that you had. Right? So there has to be something there that's a little more woo-woo than we realize. Woo-woo. So I want to talk about that a little bit. Because, like I said, I went on a trip and I had a great time. But I went knowing I was going to have a great time. I went telling myself everything was going to go great. Like, one of my friends was really having a hard time, and you know, actually a couple of them had some issues that popped up on their trip, and fortunately mine was pretty issue free. Like my whole drive down, my whole time there, my whole drive back, and I was like, no, like I rebuke that. Like I do not accept the bad juju. I am not gonna have a bad time. I will not be thwarted in any way. Like I'm gonna have a good time, right? And I mean, I did. I had a great time. Like, I had a great experience, and I really felt like, you know, you kind of get the experience you expect. You get the experience for the energy that you're carrying. You get the experience for, you know, the thoughts that you have about it and the vibe that you carry about it. And I think this is evident too in the fact that for myself on my own healing journey, right? Like I said, I've mentioned on my Vulnerable AF Fridays that I have had some struggles in life, right? Like, I mean, and how could I not? How could I not with the way that I was brought up, okay? I got one parent that's like MIA, and this is not me trying to shade anybody or make anybody feel guilty. This is just me speaking honestly about my experience, owning my experience, being real about how my experience has shaped me, and being real about how some of the things that shaped me hurt me and were damaging to me. And I'm sorry if that offends or hurts other people, but I'm no longer willing to stay silent and continue on the cycle of abuse in my silence because somebody else's feelings are going to get hurt or somebody else is going to feel called out. Like, I'm just not willing to live that life anymore. So just like I have to own all of my oopsies and all of my mistakes, other people got to too. You know what I mean? But I grew up that there was no way that I was not going to have challenges. There was no way. When you're real about the situation and you look at it honestly, it is a far cry, in my opinion. And I've been told this by other people, that they're so surprised at how I turned out with everything going on. And I'm not done yet. That's the best part. I'm not even done yet. Y'all see me now, but I'm not even done yet. Like, I'm not done yet, you know? But yeah, like growing up, you know, like one parent's MIA, so I don't even have that influence, which, you know, maybe was for the best. Who knows, right? We'll never know. We'll never know. We can only speculate, and, you know, you lose a lot of yourself, I think, too, in speculation, right? And so I grew up with a parent that was there who was a very angry person, who, I don't know, maybe they had some mental issues, maybe there was like a heavy dose of narcissism going on. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I can't diagnose them. And even if I could, it wouldn't change really anything. Like, it doesn't change the outcome. It doesn't change the fact that I have to do the work to make it better. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't really change anything. Like, a diagnosis doesn't really change anything for me. But I'm just saying, like, clearly there were things going on with this person and this parent, and I feel for them, but I choose me. Like, I'm to that point in my life where I feel for other people and I empathize for what they're going through, but I'm going to choose me 100% of the time, every time. Like, pretty much. If that's just where I'm at in life. And if it doesn't jive with other people and, you know, they don't want to be on board, they don't have to. That's the beauty about life. Like, it's a choose your own adventure, y'all. Choose your own adventure. Every day, choose your own adventure. Whatever that is, whatever you want it to be. But it all starts here. It all starts here. So I grew up, you know, with a parent that was very, like I said, had a lot of anger, very quick to anger, short fuse, you know, not very patient, not very understanding, very black and white, my way or the highway, you know, heavy-handed discipline, even for things that probably didn't necessarily need a heavy hand and discipline. You know, it's like some parents back in my day of growing up, a lot of them, I think, they only understand one type of discipline, and that's like physical, or what we call corporal punishment, right? But physical intervention, you know. And then on top of the physical intervention, there's verbal, you know, there's verbal things. And I think a lot of times, honestly, if you agree in the comments, let me know. But I feel very strongly that a lot of the verbal was worse than the physical, because the physical fades and you forget, right? I mean, do I forget every single time I was manhandled or backhanded or whatever? No, I don't forget those things necessarily. I don't try to live with them in my awareness every day, but I don't forget them. And but the things that are said, like, they build the part of you, you know, in your psyche, right? Like the parts of you that feel less than, not enough, not good enough, you know, depending on the messages that you're given. So of course a lot of my messages are, you're not going to have a pot to piss in, you know, you're going to be, you know, you're going to be just like this other person, and, you know, nothing ever good. No, you can do this, and I'm proud of you, and I don't know that I ever heard those kinds of words growing up. So that became my, like, belief system about myself. I'm not good enough. I'll never get there. I'll never have anything. I'll never be anybody. I'm useless. I'm a waste of space. And, like, those words are not necessarily the words that were used, but when we say things, we don't get to determine how they're interpreted by other people. You know what I mean? So those were the beliefs that I was running off of, the belief systems I was running off of, the messages I was given, the programming I received, you know. And so for a long time I believed that. I really, really, truly believed, because it seemed true. It seemed evident in every moment of my existence that life was shit and nothing was good and nothing good would happen, and that I'll never be, I'll never have, nothing. You know what I mean? Whenever I would make mistakes, I would be very hard on myself, And I think that a lot of people would argue that it's perfectionism, but it's really not. I think a lot of what we perceive as perfectionism is a harsh critic of somebody else. Most times, I'm not going to say there's not like the people who were born, like, you know, some people have like OCD and they're like, I got to touch this doorknob 3 times before I leave, and some people probably are really born with that like perfectionism gene. But I think for a lot of people, that like self-deprecation that comes along after we make a mistake, we're taught that. We're taught that we're not good enough. We're taught that we made a mistake. We're taught that we're a fuck up, right? So for a long time, that's how I lived my life. You know, and because I felt like I wasn't any good, I always tried to stay small and all that. And then I reached that point where I wanted to have a different life. And I'm like, this shit is not working. And, you know, I was really like into music and, you know, certain artists and stuff like that. And I'd be like, well, how did they do it? How did they get there? How did they make the change? Like, how did they, you know what I mean? Because like me, like I love to write poetry, love to write poetry. Like, it's like one of my things, okay? It's one of my gifts, okay? That I take a lot of joy and pride in. And I grew up being told that it was a waste of time, right? So then I'm like, okay, well, it's a waste of time. And so then, like, you start to get older, right? And you start to find your own influences, your own information. And so I would always like to watch like interviews with like people in bands that I really liked, you know. And like one band that I really like is probably one of my favorite is Billy Talent. And I remember I'd watched an interview and he was like, yeah, I went in and this producer person said that nobody would ever want to hear my voice. You know what I mean? And they're in Canada, and I know about them way down here in the south of the US of A, right? And so that, like I started taking note of those types of things, right? You think about Freddie Mercury, you know, all the pushback he was given, and he was like, no, like, this is my voice, this is what I think, this is, and they never gave up. That was what I took away, was like, they just never gave up. Whereas I was like, I was surrendering and submitting to this idea that I'm nothing and I'll never be nothing and I'll never have anything. And I'm just a person that life shits on. I'm just a person that life shits on. And I'm always going to be sad. I'm always going to be miserable. And I'm always going to be anxious. And I'm always going to be, because I can't be anything else. I've been taught and told I can't be anything else at this point, you know. And so I'm learning more. And so then I started getting into like bands like 21 Pilots, because I talk a lot about mental health issues. And as a poet, I really, really love the way that the lead singer just puts his lines together. Like, sometimes I'm just like, oh my god, like where did he even come up with this? Like, where does he pull this? And I kind of know as a writer, right? Like, it's divine inspiration most times, or working through your feelings and combined with divine inspiration. And like, even then they were like, you know, they have a song Blurry Face, and they talk about that whole song, from my understanding, is about how, you know, people are like, hey, like, stop chasing this stupid dream and go get a real fucking job. You know what I mean? And while that's true in some cases, not every garage band is going to make it. Like, let's be honest, especially in this society that we live in, that is so much more controlled than we ever thought or realized. Most of us, right? It's hard to make a break in a world that wants you to be something other than yourself. Like, you almost have to literally sell your soul to, it seems like, to make it in this world. But I'm finding these instances where that's not necessarily true, right? You know, like Tom McDonald is another one. He's an independent artist, and he, regardless of what you think about him, it's not about, you cannot like a person and still have respect for their hustle. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, you can be like, I don't agree with their message, but he had a vision, he had a dream, he got his fucking life together, he started focusing on the thing that he loved, and he started chasing it, and now, you know, he's doing his damn thing, right? He's well known, I believe he's well known, maybe he's not, but so just things like that, you know, like things like that I started trying to be more aware of. And this is kind of how I started switching, like having the realization. And actually, even these parts that I'm discussing Like looking at these people that do what they love and they make good money doing the things they love. How do they do it? You know, like obviously I'd love to be a published poet. Obviously I'd love, you know what I mean? I'd love to make good money doing something that I'm naturally gifted at. Like who wouldn't? Like that's the whole point, right? That's the whole point. That's your gift is what you're supposed to use to get you through life, in my opinion. In my opinion. It's my opinion. I reserve the right to change my mind at any time. But yeah, before I hit this point where I'm like, well, how did these people do it? Which was only a few years after I started having like my awakening. I would say that my real true awakening started in 2015, where I was like, this shit isn't working. It might have maybe even been 2014, where I'm like, this shit isn't working. I'm constantly unhappy. I feel like I fail at everything I do. I feel like I'm not good enough. Even when I get recognition, it feels fake, because inside I feel like I'm not that good, and like they don't really know the truth, and if they really knew the truth, they wouldn't fucking like me and they wouldn't fucking celebrate me. Like these are the things that are going on internally, right? And I finally had to sit down with myself and I'm like, this shit is not working. This shit is not working. You're going to have to start getting outside of your comfortable uncomfort, like my uncomfortable discomfort. Like I'm not comfortable living in a world of victimhood, really. I'm not comfortable living in a world where I'm full of anxiety and depression. I'm not comfortable really where I feel like every day is a fucking struggle and I'm not even really taking care of myself, and I'm not, you know what I mean? Like maybe I don't brush my teeth every day, or maybe I don't shower every day, or maybe, this is back then, right? And just really not taking care of myself and letting myself just float day by day, wasting time. Like I remember I had a job where I had like inverted schedule, right? Like most people work 5 days a week and have 2 days off. Well, I would work like 2 days straight. I would do like either a 48 or 72 hour shift, and then I would have like 5 fucking days off. Like every other week I'd have like 5 fucking days off. And in betweens, I would work like a Wednesday night, overnight, right? Like the week that I didn't have a full week off, I would just work on a Wednesday night, and then I would go in over the weekend and whatever, right? So, and like I did that for years. I had that job. It was pretty decent money. I didn't have like a car note or a whole lot of bills, and there was so much I could have done with that time if I'd only had the realizations that I have now, you know. And like I can sit here and I can beat myself up about the missed opportunity, or I can just be like, man, that's a learning experience and I won't let it happen twice. Like never again will I let free time like that pass me by where I'm not doing something meaningful and valuable with it, where I'm either learning something or having like a fucking you know, a hobby or something. So, but I sat down with myself and I was like, hey, self, this shit ain't working. This life ain't working. Like, you kind of don't want to be here, but you also kind of don't want to do the thing that makes you not be here. You know, like that's where I was at. Like I didn't want to end myself, but I just didn't want to insist. Like if I remember there was one time in therapy where I was like, and this was when I didn't have the therapist that told me she couldn't help me. I was like, I feel like if I could just evaporate into nothingness, I would be okay with that. That was how the fuck I felt. And that's why now I feel like it's important that I show up, because this is proof that when you start working here, you can get through and you can start chasing the life that you deserve. You know, and it starts with the way that you talk to yourself. It starts with reprogramming all of the bullshit negative narratives that you've had in your life, from people that are maybe not well themselves, or people, and this is something that, you know, I tell kids all the time. Anytime I'm encountering children, I'm like, look, you know, and I think about my own experience where I'm like, I was told this was a waste of time. I was told, and if I had just ignored everybody, and this is where I was getting at, when I started looking at like the bands that I respected and admired and whatever and enjoyed, and I was like, well, how the fuck did they do it? How the fuck did they get there? They just never fucking quit. They believed in what they knew was what they were supposed to do, and they just never gave the fuck up. They just kept going. They kept going. They pushed everything to the side, and they focused on that, and they said, this is what I'm going to do, and this is going to be my life, and that's all there is to it. They told themselves. They knew. They created the vision. They created the life. And so when we use our mind properly, you know what I mean? You really can manifest pretty much whatever you want. And I'm pretty sure by now a lot of people are seeing all these like little manifesting magic, like reels and TikToks and whatever. And I can't say that I'm like the best manifester, because again, I still also have my own struggles that I'm still working on overcoming. And you have to really hold the feeling, and you can't slide back into the other feelings that are the negative, like it'll never happen, and I wish I could have that, and whatever, and you know what I mean? You have to be like full tilt, like I feel like I already have this outcome, I already feel like I have this thing, you know what I mean? This is my life. Like you have to almost, it literally is a fake it till you make it type faith, you know what I mean? Because there were times where I definitely was having to fake how I was feeling, you know what I mean? Working through, trying to get past my victimhood and all that, and it was definitely work, you know what I mean? It wasn't something easy, it wasn't something, there were days that were hard, there were days where I really struggled to show up for myself and have the grace and care and love that I needed for myself, where I would slip up and I would self-deprecate. God, Nicole, you're such a fucking idiot. Why couldn't you just, you just had to do that. You had to do that. And honestly, I hardly even have those types of moments anymore. Like I used to be very, very clumsy. And I think a lot of that comes from a lack of really like self-awareness. But I used to be really clumsy, and because I was always made to feel so poorly about it growing up, whenever I would be clumsy as an adult, I would just be like real hard on myself, like, God, like fucking can't do anything right, like why did you do this, why did you do that, blah 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 blah. And the important takeaway is not how we beat ourselves up, but how we rebound. Oh, that's right, this is another thing I tell kids. So I was telling you something that I always tell kids is whatever you love, you do that. Whatever it is that you feel you're here to do that. No matter what anybody says, no matter what, you do that. You focus on that. You make that your passion, your goal, your whatever. You know what I mean? Because like imagine if my dad hadn't been poo-pooing all over the fact that I like to write poetry. Who knows where I could be, who I could be, and I could sit here and I could live in that world, right, of this unlived reality of like, oh, who could I be? Which is really just me wasting time. It's me wasting energy, imagining what this life could have been, instead of saying, I'm here now, what can I do? I'm here now, what can I do? And so that's something that I always encourage children. I'm like, hey, look, even the people that love you, they're sometimes going to try to steer you in a way that is really not true to who you are. And again, intuition. You got to go with your feeling. You got to go with your gut. I'm not saying that people don't care about you and they don't want to try to steer you in the right direction, but like, think about all the people who are like, my parents really want me to be a lawyer, or my parents really want me to be a doctor. And it's like what your parents want for you, but what do you want for you? Because I don't think anybody's really ever going to be fulfilled trying to satisfy someone else's idea of what their life should be, someone else's idea of the dream life or whatever, right? So that's one thing I always try to, kids, anybody, it doesn't matter. I'm always trying to tell people, like, you got to do what you got to do. At the end of the day, you have to decide what is best for you. Only you get to live your life. Only you have to be the one within your skin every single day. You have to wake up to this face every day. You have to, hey, hello. You have to, you have to, there's a backup. And so everybody's like, oh, let's bail the last second. Let's jump in front of everybody and cut everybody off. But even that, right? That's a mindset. So like, if I were to let these people really piss me off, it could derail my whole fucking day. And so I can have a moment of annoyance and then just be like, you know what? It doesn't really matter. In the grand scheme of things, it has no real bearing or effect. You know. And a lot of things in life, I think, are like that. That the things that we encounter, they have the power that we give it. You know. And what was the other thing I was going to say? Another thing that I try to tell. Like, change is the only constant. And these are the ways that I've kind of really worked on my mind. And when I believed that life was shit and nothing was going to get better, that's what life was. And when I said, no, I'm done living this lie. I'm done living this lie. This is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. I know this is not who I was born to show up as. So why the fuck am I living this bunk ass life? Like, this is not cool. And then I just started to change, you know what I mean? And again, like, I looked at people like David Bowie and like Freddie Mercury and how they were always like reinventing themselves, and I took that to heart, you know what I mean? I'm like, I can change up whatever I want, however I want, whenever I want. You know, I think a lot of times we get set in these paths and we think like, well, this is who I am and it's who I always have to be. We stop experimenting and we stop, you know, being creative. And once I started reminding myself all the time, like, yeah, you made a mistake there and you self-deprecated there, but guess what? It's a new minute. Every minute, every second, you're starting something new. Every moment that passes, you have the opportunity to change the entire script, to change the entire story, to change whatever it is that you want to change. Like, every moment that's new. Like, yeah, maybe old you didn't get it right. Maybe old you fucked it up. Maybe old you fumbled the bag. Maybe old you know, wasted an opportunity. But you don't have to keep being that old you. And the only way that I've learned that I can be, I don't even want to say a new me, but the real me. You know, getting more in touch with who I really am outside of the beliefs, thoughts, opinions, best wishes of other people, is just remembering that I can change and be however I want to be, whenever I want to be. You know what I mean? Like, who's to say I can't? Like, if I wanted to go and start, you know, wearing 70s garb every day, I could go do that. There's nothing stopping me. You know what I mean? Like, and people will be like, well, I don't have money for this and I don't have that. Okay, so your problem is, A, I don't have money to do the thing that I want to do. So here's what you got to do. You have to start becoming resourceful, and you have to start saying, hey. And this is also, I'm going to kind of deviate a little bit here. This is also where, like, the manifestation happens too. You say, I want this thing, but I don't know how I'm going to get that thing. And a lot of people will say that when you're trying to have a mental change like that, where you're manifesting something, because everything really is a manifestation. Everything is a manifestation. That new job, it's a manifestation. Like, that new relationship, it's a manifestation. It really just is. Like, it is. Nothing happens, like, accidentally. You know what I mean? Like, it's just, that is what it is. When you're like, I'm hungry, I really want an apple, or I really want a Big Mac, and you get out and you go get it, you're really, I mean, I'm not, yeah, would it be great if we could just manifest it in our hand? Yeah. But really, anything that you do where you're like, I put this thought into motion, you're manifesting it. And I know I was going somewhere with that, I deviated, and now I'm like, bleep. But I just, I don't remember where I was at with that. And that's just part of life. And it's okay. See, because here I can beat myself up about it, but I can be like, nah, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. This is who I am, and I don't have to change for people. You know what I mean? I know a lot of people think that YouTubers should get on here and be polished and whatever. No shade and hate to any of those people. If I was a type A personality, which I'm pretty sure I'm not, if I was a type A personality, I could I could be that way, but I'm not even concerned about trying to be that way, because it would be a lie. It would be a lie. It would be a lie for me to try to, you know what I mean? Like, schedule things. And maybe someday I'll get there. Like, maybe someday along the way, this is, you know, I'm learning. I'm in my learning phase. This is all a learning phase. And this is again, I'm manifesting, right? I'm manifesting something greater than the initial start, obviously. Just like in the beginning when I was like, this life isn't working, I'm gonna have to be different. Like I remember I would go to grocery stores and like I hated it. Like once COVID hit and you couldn't go to the grocery store in the middle of the night, oh my god, that was like some 7th level of hell for me. Okay, like some fucking Dante's Inferno. Like it was horrible. And then like dealing with all of the just it was gross. And I had to go in there and I just had to be like, it was like all my anxiety and like all my depression, right? All my unresolved bullshit, false limiting beliefs and whatever, you know, they aren't even real. Like, because I'm limitless. I'm only as limited as I believe I am. There's nothing that can stop me from doing whatever the fuck I want to do. If I believe that I can do it, I will find a way. The manifestation, that's it. I will find a way. So you start like, I don't have money. That's where I was at. You don't have money. So then, you know what I mean? So you have to kind of like be like, well, what can I do? What can I do? What can I do? How can I get there? How do I get there? So I think a lot of times people focus too much on the problem instead of the how can I get there? And I have a very like, how do I fix it? How do I make it better? How do I get there mindset? Which I used to not have. You know, I would just be like, I want this. Okay, I recognize that I want this. How do I get it? And a lot of times, in my opinion, the fastest way to get somewhere or to get something that you want is to surround yourself with people that already have it. You know what I mean? So like if you want to figure out how the fuck do I have a bunch of Airbnbs, you have to choose to surround yourself with people that have Airbnbs. That's going to be the fastest way for you to manifest that, because you're going to have that experience is naturally going to leach into your awareness, basically, right? So it's just what I wanted to talk about, because I know people think it's woo-woo, but it's really not. It's really just a matter of calling out false narratives and you know, finding where they're not true within your own life. This is like I said, I think my last Vulnerable AF Friday that I did, which was the Friday before last Friday, I talked about that, like how I worked on changing my mindset. You know, how I went in there and like anytime there was a thought that was a negative thought, I'm like, where did this thought come from? You know, and then I kind of did all that. So, but this is kind of similar, but also not. But I would argue probably that this part is a little harder to do if you haven't done that part of like recognizing which voices are not even yours, even though they may sound like you. Where did that really come from? You know, that I'm not good enough, I'll never have anything, I won't have a pot to piss in, you know, whatever. And so that's kind of like, that was already stacked against me. And I don't think that I would be doing as well as I am. Like, I've really learned to advocate for myself, which is something I would have never done in my previous life. Like, I literally just sent my boss an email yesterday being like, look, these things are outside of the scope of our contract for duties that you want me to do, and I am happy to support in whatever way that I can that we've agreed to previously, but if you want me to start doing these things, even as a one-off, we're going to have to review this contract and talk about compensation for me to be having these additional roles or these additional whatever, right? Old me would have never done that. Old me would have just been like people pleasing McGee and like, you know what I mean? I gotta do this or I'm gonna lose my job, you know what I mean? And I had this moment during my healing, like, I mean, I'm still healing, I say during, but like somewhere in my healing, I don't even want to say it was the beginning, but it was the beginning of like the awakening that led to deeper healing, more meaningful healing, in my opinion. And I was just feeling so exhausted all the time, and I was just like, I can't do this. I'm tired. You know, you have resentment because you feel like you have to struggle harder than other people, and that's not even necessarily a bad thing when you really think about it. If you were born from the struggle, you came here to make this world better. I guarantee you. If you were born from the struggle, your purpose is to make this world better, and your job is to figure out how, when, where, why, and how you're supposed to do that. Okay, what it is you're supposed to bring and contribute. But I digress, because I went on a tangent and now I don't remember what, when, where, how I was. But I was talking about how old me would have never advocated for myself, and even that was hard. Like, I'm having to like lean on my best friend. I'm like, I don't know. Like, this is what this says. Like, when I'm like trying to find jobs and stuff, and I'm like, I don't know. And like, old me would have never thought, bro, if you would have told like 25-year-old me that I was gonna be out here in this world, repping myself, advocating for myself, negotiating contracts with people that are employing me and saying, I agree to this, I don't agree to this, and like compromising and all that, and I'd have been like, this girl, you're funny, because that would never fucking happen. But it does. And even more, like, the best part is, like, I'm getting better at advocating for myself, and that is a great feeling. Honestly, that is a great feeling. And it's things that I've manifested. It's things that I've been working on manifesting. And sometimes with manifesting too, using your brain, set it and forget it. That's my favorite part. Like, when I can't figure something out, I go, okay, subconscious, I cannot figure this out. I give up. I give it to you. We'll put it in the subconscious crock pot. I'm gonna set it and forget it, and it's gonna bing in 8 hours, or however long. Probably not 8 hours, but and whatever the time it takes for that to brew and cook, it just kind of magically unfolds. Be like, there's the answer. There it is. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, once you get out of that place where nothing is good, and that jealousy of like other people that seem to have more, and belittling yourself and thinking like, I'm from the struggle and it's all I'll ever fucking have and it's all I'll ever fucking be. That is what you will have and be, because that is what you believe about yourself. And when you say, I came from the struggle, but I came to do great fuck things, that is what you will be. When you don't even have to believe it. That's the best part. You don't even have to believe it. You just keep saying it. You just keep saying it. Like, I came from the struggle, but I'm here to fuck shit up in a good way. I came from the struggle, but I'm here to make shit happen. I came from the struggle, but I'm here to be fucking great. I came from the struggle, and it is what has built me up to be the best me that I can be. Okay? And just like all of that fucking bullshit, for me, as an example, all that bullshit that was fed into me, that wasn't a one-time, you won't have a pot to piss in. That wasn't said to me one time and then it just stuck in my brain. No. It was said to me over and over and over and over and over and over and over, every day, over, my whole life, right? All those fucking negative messages and connotations and belittlings that made me feel like I can't be anything, I'll never do anything, I'll never have anything. It wasn't a one-time conversation. It wasn't even sometimes always a direct conversation. Sometimes it was an exasperation that I happened to hear. Okay? So you gotta do the same thing. You gotta do the same fuck thing. You gotta that's how you reprogram it, over and over and over. I came from the struggle, but I ain't dying in the struggle. I came from the struggle, and I'm gonna show people how the fuck to get out the struggle. I came from the struggle, and ain't nobody gonna fucking stop me. You know what I mean? Like, that's how the fuck you really gotta be. And it is woo-woo, but it's also science. Like, as much as it's woo-woo, it's science. And as I was getting up today and trying to figure out what the fuck I'm going to talk about, one sec. You know, I came to realize that, like, my woo-woo Wednesday clearly is not just about woo-woo, but how the mundane really can be magical. You know what I mean? Like, how the things are really not that woo-woo. We've just been so separated from it. You know, and how and when and why did that occur? Where we were taken away from our own power. You know what I'm saying? So, as always, I hope you got value out of this video. Please, please, please put in the comments, like, do you agree with what I'm saying? Have you experienced what I'm saying? You know, what is your own actual journey? What is your own actual lived experience? Am I just talking out of my ass? I don't think I am, but I mean, you're welcome to your opinion. So, but as always, if you can't stand nobody fuck else today, please stand yourself. Be kind to yourself. Be loving to yourself. Be forgiving of yourself. Let yourself off the hook. Okay? Life ain't that serious. It ain't that long. Do your best. Do your best. Come from the struggle and overcome that shit. Take care.